Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Welcome, folks. This is Coactive Learning using coaching skills in business. I'm Bruce. I will be your host today. So we're just going to allow a few minutes for people to arrive. So a couple of questions going in the chat. Where are you calling in from today? And what's your what is your connection to Coactive? And that means, like, how are you here? Have you done the coach training, leadership? Are you curious? Never heard about Coactive? Tell us who you are and where you're from. The chat function should be available to you all. Okay, Matthew, you're first off the mark. Thanks for that. West Coast in certification. Oh, now the chat's coming in thick and fast. I see Singapore in here, a few folks from there. I'm just up the road. I'm in Malaysia. There's some names I recognize here. Okay, we've got New York, somebody in Human Doing Foundations. Welcome, Rose. And I hope you're keeping warm. I've seen all sorts of reports of blizzards on the East Coast. I think that's getting quite late for you as well, isn't it? Missouri, North Carolina. Quite a few on the new program, Ignite there. Oh, Christina from Enoki, lovely to see you here. Folks, have a look through. Dave Giblin, nice to see you, Dave. I saw your name coming up in there. Lots of folks from this part of the world in the Singapore area. Some folks I know from classes, and then lots from the US as well. Great time. I guess our friends in Europe should be sleeping. Although we have our tech host, Georgetta, today is calling in from Europe. It's the middle of the night. Here's Georgetta. She's giving you a little
Hello.
wave. And she looks very awake and glamorous. So what, 2 a.m. for you, Georgetta?
Yes, 2 a.m.
3 a.m. Okay.
2.
Pretty good. 2
p.m. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Great. I'm just going to pop the question in the chat because I noticed there are more people arriving. So welcome, folks. Danny says that Georgetta is the GOAT. Danny, what does GOAT mean? Oh, Greg in Calgary. Hi, Greg. Good afternoon. Nice to see you. I spent some time in Calgary, so it brings back nice memories. Okay. You can see our AI assistant. So we've got a note taker in there. Here's Maggie from Texas. Wow. There's people from all over. Jay in Seoul. Oh, Richard says, GOAT and greatest of all time. You are, Georgetta. There we go. We got a vote for you already. Thanks, folks.
Thank you.
Great. There's Rue, who's 20 more hours before being ready for examination. Okay. Great. Karen in Oman, or having been in Oman, a fellow oil and gas veteran like me. Great. Rochester, New York. Wow, we've got people from all over. So welcome, everybody. I think we're going to get started now because you come for a reason. One of the reasons we wanted to know who was here and why is just so that we can kind of pitch this so that everybody gets something out of this. I noticed that we've got a lot of people who have already some experience with Coactive, so that's great. And there may be some people who are curious about what's going on. The purpose of this is to, as it says on the screen, kind of blend together the fact that as coaches, all of those who are in coach training, you will have heard at some point, we don't have opinions, right? Our clients are the one with opinions. We're facilitating a discussion. But as leaders, we do have opinions. So this is how we're going to blend the two of those. Okay? So I'm going to be shouting instructions to Georgetta, who is our tech host. So Georgetta, do you want to move to the next slide? Great. Oh, we got that. So we know who you are. We know where you're coming from. So let's design. We'll do some introductions now and design a line. So I'm Bruce. I'm your host. I am based in Malaysia, in Asia. So you can see this is the sun just rising outside. The stripes on my face will go in a second. The sun goes up quite quickly here. I'm originally from UK. I've been a coactive coach now for 8 years. Found CTI in 2018. So I coach. I'm also a member of faculty. I've been faculty for 4 to 5 years now. So I train the courses mostly here in Asia, but also in some places in Europe and online. Before coaching, I worked for the Shell Oil Company. I was in oil and gas for about 20 years, mostly in operations roles. I don't do regrets, but my regret is that I didn't find coactive a little earlier while I was leading teams. I knew something about coaching. I enjoyed it. I think my team got better. But when I came to coactive, there was a lot that I wish I could have applied. Currently, I run a music charity in the UK, so I do get to use coactive skills in a business environment. I have a kind of a 200 or more people that are involved in the charity every year. And what I learned with coactive is applicable there. So today I'm going to try and share with you how you balance leading and coaching. I am joined today or assisted by Georgetta, who's going to be tech hosting. Georgetta, do you want to just say who you are and where you are in your coactive journey?
Yes, sure. Hello, I'm Georgetta. I'm from Bulgaria. I'm based in Plovdiv, and I'm with CTIs when since the pandemic started in 2020, and I'm tech hosting since 2022. And now I'm a certified collective coach since last year because yeah, I had two pregnancies between this period when I started my collective journey, and finally I had the opportunity to get my certification, and yeah, I really enjoy this role. I'm very happy and very fulfilled when I'm a part of every course with CTI.
Great. Thanks, Georgetta. And she's so passionate that she's doing this at 2 a.m. in her local time, and still managing to be bright and fresh. So Georgetta is going
Really
to be off
wanted to
camera.
participate. Mhm.
Great. Georgetta is
Yeah.
going to be off camera for most of the time, and occasionally she'll pop on. So, Georgetta, do you want to bring up slide number 3, and we'll just do a quick design alliance?
Yes, sure. At number
Thank
3.
you. Okay. So as usual, just a quick design alliance. So we're all conscious of what's okay here. So this normally in coactive classrooms, we talk about confidentiality. Here it's slightly different. The meeting is being recorded and it will be shared online in a YouTube video. So please be aware of that. If you're putting things in chat, that they may be available to an audience. There's already 100 plus of us in here. And it will be available to others. So it is not confidential. We're not going to be doing live coaching demos or anything like that. So the context is a little different from a classroom. We have an AI note taker. So the meeting is being notated that will be used in the broadcast. This is a webinar. It's not like a normal Zoom classroom. So it means that mostly you're going to be seeing me, a little bit of Georgetta and slides, but we do want to interact. So there are, in fact, 2 ways to interact. The chat that you have already shown great competence in doing. I'm going to be asking for opinions in certain places. So please do put your thoughts in the chat. Also, if you've got a question about something that you want me to answer now, put that in the chat. If you've got a question that we're going to do a short Q&A towards the end of our time, if you've got a question that you want to save until then put that in the Q&A, which you should be able to see if you browse along the bottom of your screen. There's a Q&A button. Questions will be loaded in there and we'll come to those at the end. Georgetta will have a quick look at those so that if there's anything that really could be answered in the moment, she'll alert me to that. Then also, if we're having a particularly juicy chat discussion with somebody, I may invite you to become a panelist. That means to switch your video on. Georgetta will manage the technicalities of that. You're free to say no as well. If you don't want to come on screen, you just say, not today. I'm not going to, that's fine. Again, it depends on time and how our conversations go. So those are the ways that you can interact. Okay. All right. Um, good. So let's get going into our content. Okay. Um, so from actually, do you want to just pull the slides down, Giuseppe? Great. So a question. This webinar is built on a premise about the difference between coaching and uh, leading or managing. So, what is coaching? Let's just take a moment. This is not a test for anybody who is in certification. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put in the chat the ICF definition of coaching. This is the short version. So this is ICF says coaching is partnering with clients or coachees in a thought-provoking and creative process that inspires them to maximize their personal and professional potential. There's kind of a few buzzwords in that. It's very accurate, but I want to just land this really, really clearly in case there are people who are new to coactive, because this is important. So in this definition, for me, what's really important is coaching is thought-provoking. So it's about always creating new awareness, new insights for our clients. We're going to talk in a moment around some of the skills that are necessary, but we're always looking to explore the client's future, this client's potential and opportunities, and hopefully help them think stuff that they've not thought before. Thought-provoking, that's key. It also says creative. In coaching, we are looking to explore not only what seems possible and likely, but also what may be seemingly impossible, what could be out of the ordinary, what could be really unusual, or seem absolutely a big no in a client's life. We're looking to help our clients think in a way that they haven't done before. And as human beings, we can often go, no, I'm not doing that. I'm not considering that. It's not possible. In coaching, we ask our clients to have a look. This creative thinking can be the root of all innovation. And then this is really key, potential. Maximize their personal and professional potential. We're always looking to grow the capacity of our coaching. So to help them, the challenges that they face today, through coaching, we hope that those cease to be challenges because they've got more capacity. So this is why coaching is essential in a business setting. Not only are you helping your people overcome whatever challenges they have, but you're also improving their potential to overcome challenges, their potential to think differently and more creative. So it's a huge, huge investment and will grow the capacity of your teams. So, coactive folks, I want some of your wisdom now. So there are 3 coaching skills. Just to make it clear what coaching is, I want to talk about listening, powerful question, and articulating. So, folks in the chat, can you give me a real bottom line definition of what listening as a coactive coaching skill is? So I'll give you a moment. Put that in the chat. Let's see who can help really nail this. Okay. Thank you, William, for starting us off. Hearing what isn't said. Yep. We all think stuff and sometimes it doesn't get out. Yeah. So listening to everything that is being said and also the unsaid. Great. Shifting our focus entirely onto the speaker. Yeah. Listening with curiosity. Hearing beyond the surface. Trying to imagine what our client is really trying to say. Great. So there's a good understanding of listening. So key coaching skill, we're listening for what the client is really saying, what they might not be actually putting words to, but they have a clear intention, and really focusing on our client or coaching. Great. Listening for truth. Love it. Thank you for that, folks. Okay, powerful questions. Folks, how would you bottom line describe what a powerful question is? Yeah, thanks, Gina. Powerful questions. They're open-ended. They're provocative. Yeah, they make people think. Starts with what and how. Yeah, it gets the client thinking. A great, powerful question. Your client goes, ah, they pull a face. They're silent. They don't know what to say because they may never have been asked that before. And yeah, it leads the client to their own answers. And there could be questions they've never asked themselves. Danny, yeah, has no agenda. We'll talk about what that means in a second. Shelley, exactly. A question that brings new awareness or clarity. So this is an absolute foundation of coactive coaching. Coaches ask powerful questions. Okay. And then articulating what's going on. Folks, help me describe that. I'm just going to pull my blind shut because it's creating a funny effect here. So while you're putting in articulating, I'm just going to run over here. There. I think the light is a bit better. So articulating what's going on. Yeah, noticing what the client's not saying and saying it aloud, expressing what you see. It could be facial expressions, it could be body movement, sharing what you're seeing or feeling yourself, putting words into what you see is happening. Yeah, so a good understanding there. So these three key skills of coactive coaching: listening, powerful questions, articulating what's going on. These are key to creating relationship, key to listening, key to helping our clients get new understanding of what's happening. So these are parts of what we're going to refer to as pure coaching. So Georgetta, if you could bring the slides back up and we'll go to slide number 4. So here is the rub. Yeah. So as leaders, pure coaching versus having opinions. So pure coaching, we're saying that a coach uses the skills we've just talked about: powerful questions, listening, articulating, and a load of other skills. And that the coach holds the client's agenda. The coach doesn't have agenda of their own and assumes the client is naturally creative, resourceful, and whole. This is all great coactive language. For anybody who's new to coactive, what we're saying here is the coach doesn't come in with an idea of what the coachee should know, should be doing, etc. Pure coaching, we're always saying to our coachee, what would you like coaching on? What does good look like for you? Okay. So we all know how to do, many of us know how to do that. Leading. So when I am leading a group of people, leaders have opinions, right? If I'm leading something, I need to have an opinion. We have leaders in our different countries where we live. We want our politicians to have opinions. We don't always agree with them, but leaders need to have opinions about what needs to be done, how to do it, and what good looks like. Leaders have a vision and they set targets, yeah? So how do the two of these go together? How can a leader who has opinions coach somebody if they're not supposed to have opinions while they're coaching? Well, let's have a look at that. So here are a set of conditions, if you like, where coaching can take place. I want to give some context here. I led big teams in Shell. So some of this is based on research that I've done in this part of my life, but also my reflections on what worked when I was a leader in Shell and what I see with clients as well. So this is not exclusive. There may be other things, but these are 3 really important things that will help you as you're working out how to balance coaching with elements of leadership. Okay, Georgetta, let's have the slides back. Number 5. So 3 conditions, I call them, when leaders can coach. So firstly, clear roles. So generally speaking, people working for us, your roles need to be clear. So is there an outcome that you and your coachee are both responsible and accountable for? And are your roles and responsibilities clear in that? Who's the decision maker? Who's the advisor? If for coaching to work well in a business relationship, you need to be really, really clear about the roles. Who has responsibility for what? Who is able to make decisions? If the roles are not clear, then you need to spend some time working out what the roles and responsibilities are. Yeah. Then, Aligned vision. This is probably, I think, the most important one. Um, I noticed in my time at Shell that I could coach really freely with the members of my team where our vision was aligned. And what do I mean by that? So the vision is, what does good look like? What is the target? What is the KPI that we're heading for? What's the conditions we're trying to create in our workplace? What are the values that we're trying to honor? When you are really aligned with your people on those, then coaching is possible. Yeah. How that works is the people in your team are going to come to you for coaching. And they say, I want coaching on this, boss. I want to really, sorry, I'm using very local language here. Manager, dear manager, I want coaching on how to empower my team more. Yeah. If we both believe that empowering the team is a good thing, then it means the coaching is easy. I, as coach, I'm not trying to steer my person in a different direction. I thoroughly believe what they're saying. If somebody in my team came to me and said, hey, I want to increase the prices for my customers, but I don't want to offer them any more value, that probably isn't going to be sitting very well. I'm all for increasing prices if we're creating more value and we've got a good value sale for our customers. So aligned on vision, and the vision may also be ways of working and values. Okay. Then this is key. This is almost an ethics thing. All information is known. So does your coachee come with all of the information they need on the topic? Very often as leaders, we have information that our team members don't know. And it's going to be very difficult to coach if I am holding back information. It could be about the situation. It could be about my team members' performance. So this is really about getting clear. Am I able to have a coaching conversation, or is there something else first? We're going to look at some scenarios in a minute, and one points a little bit at this. But if I, for example, if a member of my team comes to me for coaching, and I actually have some feedback about their performance that is relevant to this, it would be perhaps dishonest, disingenuous of me not to share the feedback before going into a coaching conversation. And let's be clear, good feedback can then lead into really, really cool coaching. But the two need to be done separately, and we need to be very clear around how we're managing that. Okay. So I'm going to pause here. I see a couple of questions coming in, so I'm going to have a look at those. So from Ava, are the clients not coming in expecting to get answers from the coach? It might be a frustrating experience for the client if that was the case, and they may not leave satisfied. How do we ensure the client knows what to expect? Yeah, great. Thank you, Ava. So when we're doing pure coaching, yes, the client is coming in to get answers from the coach. So I'm going to go to the beginning of the coaching relationship. When we are selling our coaching services, when we're doing exploration calls with clients, this is when we would tell them what coaching is and what coaching isn't. So as a coach, I'm not giving answers to my clients. I'm asking questions. I'm holding up a mirror. I'm articulating what I see, but I'm not here to share my life or professional expertise. If I'm sharing professional expertise, this is more of a mentoring conversation, which is also valid, but it's different from coaching. Coaching has no content, it has no advice. Mentoring has a sense of I'm sharing my own life experience and some knowledge in service of the person that I am mentoring. So being really clear about what coaching is and what coaching isn't, whether you're doing pure coaching or whether you're a business leader. Business leaders, the way you can do that is say, hey, team, at times I have some coaching skills that I want to use with you. This is typically what the coaching conversation may feel like. These are the kind of things that I'll be doing. And these are some of the things that will be possible in a coaching conversation. Okay, thanks, Ava. So from Linwood Betts, how do you effectively character coach when leadership does not understand the concepts of coaching and driven by metrics primarily? Yeah, great question. I'm saying that just to try and think of something good to say. Often if you are the first to learn coaching in an organization and you have a vision for what it can create, there's a little bit of change management to be doing. Yeah. There is some parts of our world believe very strongly in command and control, a very clear hierarchy. I give you some examples. Military. Any organization that is based on the military model. Military works. The whole basis is on the sense that there is command and control. There is absolute obedience within the hierarchy. And there is a great purpose for that. When it comes to life and death situations, a commander needs to know that their orders are going to be carried out. You can't have dissent, you can't have questioning. Um, Coaching is a different modality. Coaching is about growing the people in the organization and their ability to think. So it's a short answer, Linwood, but effectively, change management is going to be really, really important here in order to be able to sell. This is what coaching is. These are the benefits it could bring to the organization, and this is how it can be done. Short answer. And if you want any follow up or any more support, Linwood, reach out to me, to anybody in the coactive organization, because I think we have a ton of passion around helping organizations understand what coaching can create. From Alana, if you strengthen their emotional intelligence through coaching, then results, KPIs will always improve. Great. You've got some of that, the evidence there a little bit, Linwood. As Alana says, coaching is growing people's capacity. It can be their emotional intelligence. It can be their ability to be in relationship. We always say that coactive coaching, it's a set of relationship tools. You don't have to be in a formal coaching relationship in order to listen really well, much more deeply, to ask questions that are powerful without necessarily being intrusive or crossing personal boundaries. There are lots of coaching skills that can just be used in everyday relationships. Okay. All right. So let's have a look at some scenarios now. So Georgetta, if you want to go on to slide 6. So this is where participants love to hear some thoughts from you. So scenario number 1. Henry reports to Karen. You may recognize these names. For those of you who don't know, our founders, Henry and Karen Kimsey House. These are not them. These are just some other Henrys and Karens that I've made up here. So Henry reports to Karen and has been doing some unrelated work for a lady called Lucy, 1 day a week. Henry asks to speak to Karen about the project for Lucy as he has some concerns about how he should approach an aspect of the work. So now, thinking about Karen, what kind of conversation can Karen prepare herself for? And by kind of conversation, I'm thinking coaching, mentoring, a management discussion. What kind of conversation should Karen prepare herself for and why? Just give a moment. Kenneth, coaching and mentoring. Do you want to say a little bit more about why, Kenneth? Matthew, that just depends on what Ken wants or needs. I'm not sure we've got Henry and Karen. Put them together, I think they turn into Ken. Lots of comments coming in here. I'm just going to scan and try. Thanks, Matthew. Henry. Yeah, it depends what Henry wants. Sorry. There's a possibility for either advising and developmental coaching, maybe about boundaries unrelated to work. I love what you're saying, Rose. Curiosity conversation. Yeah, Sonia's also landing on that. Karen ought to stay curious. It'll be easy to adjust the situation. And Gina, agree with coaching and mentoring. Might need mentoring in terms of opening communication with Lucy. Yeah, I love what you're saying. My thinking here was, first of all, in a coaching conversation, Karen must assume that she doesn't necessarily have some expertise. Now, as a leader, this can be great because it means that we're listening. Yeah, a few people mentioned curiosity. So really getting the curiosity going here. Joanne says as well, coaching conversation with Henry. Karen may not have the knowledge or capacity around this. So I think starting out saying this feels like this may be a coaching conversation to find out really what's going on there. And then, as a few of you said, this may well shift into a mentoring conversation because Karen may have some expertise that are going to help Henry develop his relationship with Lucy. We don't know. Obviously, the conversation needs to happen. And one thing I want to flag here, when we're moving from coaching conversation, which is I'm listening, I'm articulating, I'm helping you to find your own way through, when we're moving into a mentoring conversation, what we always say is tell the person, hey, I'm going to put my mentor hat on for a moment. Now, it could be that Karen has some knowledge about how Lucy works, how Henry can change his approach. It depends if she has some knowledge that would be useful as Henry is building his relationship there. Okay, great. I've not got to all of the comments, but you're all pointing in the right direction. I see a lot of curiosity in there. Okay, let's go to the next scenario then. So read it out and I'll give you a moment to respond. So Amanda is now in the picture. Amanda also works for Karen and has informed her that she, Amanda, has concerns about Henry's performance that are impacting a project they're working on together. Karen invites Henry for a discussion. So what kind of conversation should Karen prepare herself for and why? Just give you a bit of space. What kind of conversation should Karen prepare for? Thanks, Ava. So more on the management mentoring side, it seems. I'm not totally with you there, Ava, but I want to see what else comes up. I think we would end up in a mentoring side. Perhaps what the management piece is what I want to build on in what you're saying. Jude says, be curious. How does Henry think things are going? I believe more detail would be helpful for me. Okay, Louise, management. Yeah, I get what you mean by management, actually, Ava. My answer may change slightly. The conversation with Henry and Karen occurred ahead of time. A check-in on Henry, performance conversation. Yeah, I love where you're pointing. Here's what occurs to me. If you remember the three conditions where coaching can take place, one of them is that the leader, that all information is shared. In this scenario, Karen now has some information that Henry doesn't yet have. Yes. Oh, Elizabeth. Perfect timing. So for me, this would need to start with a feedback conversation. So Karen's saying to Henry, hey, Henry, I have had some feedback from Amanda, and I want to share that with you. Yeah. If you go straight into a conversation around coaching or even mentoring, and 5 minutes in, you say, actually, Henry, now is maybe a good time to tell you I had some feedback from Amanda that may be relevant to this project. There is a chance that the trust in the relationship is undermined. A manager of mine in Shell years ago said to me, share as much information as you can, as early as you can, as a foundation for building trust. Yeah, so to share feedback halfway through, say a 30-minute conversation in the context of coaching, it could undermine trust a little bit. So what I would suggest, this is firstly a feedback discussion. Once the feedback is given, then this could go into either mentoring conversation, coaching conversation. It could go anywhere. Oh, check. What if Amanda had provided her input in confidence? I'll give you a bottom line answer there. For me, this is an opinion. There's a million ways to answer this. I think I would have a big negotiation with Amanda. If Amanda is providing me with information that I can't do anything with, I think I would have a conversation with Amanda around helping her to give feedback. It can become poisonous in an organization if feedback is being passed around, but nobody has permission to do anything with it. So possibly check that points at bigger issues in the organization if that's the case. We could spend an hour on that, I've no doubt. Joanne, Amanda could have a feedback discussion with Henry rather than involving Karen. Yeah, I mean, that would also be a great outcome that an organization is able to deliver its own feedback. I love where you're pointing. Okay, thanks everyone. One more scenario. Giorgetta. All right, so scenario number 3. Henry requests time with Karen to talk about some challenges he's having in his relationship with Simon, who's another team member. During the conversation, Henry said he's so frustrated with Simon and he refuses to work with Simon anymore. How should Karen play this? Henry refuses to work with Simon. How should Karen play this? Coaching, mentoring, managing. Yeah, Suri says, name what's going on. Suri, since I know you, how would you name what's going on? I'm going to keep going on other comments, but if you feel like putting that in, Suri, go ahead. Alana, get his opinions, then Simon's, bring them together. I've had this conversation with somebody, Karen said, okay, Danny and Mickelson, expertise, deep listening, coaching. What would Simon have to do? Ask for permission and what's help. Okay, so lots of different ways. Here's, again, there's no one right answer here, but what, again, the purpose of this is to look at how coaching and leadership and opinions go together. For me, if I am in the position of Karen, there's a key condition that is not being satisfied here in order for me to be able to coach. I think that's where you're saying, Kenneth, this could be a management conversation. I don't think that Karen and Henry are aligned on the same vision. So Henry has a vision not to work with Simon, and I'm imagining that Karen has not signed up to that vision. So before coaching would be possible, I think Karen and Henry would have to align on whether it's okay for Henry to refuse to work with Simon anymore. It's a big thing in an organization. If I'm Karen and I try and coach Henry about working with Simon, in coaching we say, so what would you like to get out of this coaching? And Henry says, I want to make sure I never have to speak to Simon again in my life. If I'm the coach and I don't believe that's right, I'm not going to be able to coach in all honesty and integrity. I have a different vision for Henry and Simon's working relationship. So again, what I wanted to do with these is to be really helping step back, thinking, what is the kind of conversation that I need to be in? Is this a coaching conversation? Is this a mentoring conversation? Or is this a management conversation? Yeah. And make sure that you are having the right conversation. First of all, and it looks like what I'm seeing from you, you've got the skills, you understand what sits in coaching, but it's about making sure as a leader, am I having the right conversation in the right scenario? So, Georgette, do you want to pull the slides down for a moment? I want to pause here and just see what other questions about any of these scenarios or anything else that's being brought up. Just going to allow a moment for this. The questions could take a moment to type. Yeah. Yeah, I love where you're pointing. This could be an HR conversation. I take a view that increasingly in organizations, it depends on your organization, HR is there less and less to be able to facilitate these kind of conversations. And there's an often expectations that leaders know how to navigate these. I also think it's a great competency for leaders to be able to know how to work with these because people are complicated, organizations are complicated, our world is complicated, and the more we're able to do as leaders, the more capacity that we have. Yeah, the differences in coaching and mentoring, absolutely. Jude, just because you use coaching skills and mentoring skills doesn't mean that you're never a manager. Absolutely. And sometimes it's really important to stand in your role as manager. Your people expect you to have the capacity to have opinions, to set direction, and to bring people along. That's part of your role. Um, yeah, William says non-negotiables should be handled first with management approach, then coaching could possibly proceed. Yeah, I think we're developing a terminology, a management approach. So the place where I do have opinions, where I'm setting vision, where I'm bringing people with me, absolutely. And there are some elements of these scenarios which they're non-negotiable. They have to be the feedback elements have to be addressed before we can get into softer elements of the conversation. Nathaniel, what coaching skills would you suggest I use to have that management conversation with Henry to align on expectations? Coaching skills, listening is always going to be key in these situations, and really, really deep listening and checking in along the way. Sari mentioned it. She said earlier on, I would name this. Naming in coaching, we're usually saying, hey, I just want to name something I think that may be going on with you, coaching. I think naming things here. So in the Simon scenario, I would say, Henry, we need to have a discussion about your relationship with Simon because I don't agree that you can simply cut all ties. I need you to be able to work with Simon. So let's have a conversation about what it will take for you to work with Simon. So I think naming is, although the context is very different, it's being really specific about what it is you want to get out of the conversation. And then use the listening during that conversation. That's where I would point. Is the delineation 1 coaching conversation, 2 feedback conversation, 3 management? Yeah, I think that's probably fair. The feedback conversation is when I'm giving an opinion of myself or of somebody else. And then the management one could be, here is a vision, here is a direction I want you to go. In this case, it's I need you to be able to work with Simon. We need to talk around how that may happen. Yeah. Yeah, and as Rose says, manager wearing different hats and getting used to switch around. And what I'll add there is also telling people. We often say, I coach clients, and sometimes I've got a little bit of expertise that the client has said they want. I may say, hey, I'm just going to take my coaching hat off for a moment because I think I've got some information that will be useful and that will help in the topic that you're coaching on. So I'm very, very clear on if I am putting mentoring hat on and I'm taking my coaching hat off. And then, okay, mentoring finished, I'm going to put my coaching hat back on. And this is really important for leaders as well. Sri, I wonder if aligning expectations is a managerial or a leadership conversation. For me, it is. Yeah, making sure that we both believe what if we say we're heading in this direction, checking that we both understand what this direction really means, I think it's a leadership conversation or managerial. We've kind of taken the name of management conversation. Absolutely. Okay. Great. Thank you for your inputs there. So, some contexts for clean coaching conversations. So, Georgetta, if you could pop slide 9 up. So, some things to think about now. This is an animated slide, so Georgetta, so you can press the first image to come up. Okay. So it's about having clear boundaries. We've talked a little bit about this. So ensuring that the coaching stays within clear boundaries where the conditions above, the ones we talked about having a clear vision, information shared, etc., making those conditions, making sure that those are present. If the topic changes, so we have the example of Henry revealing he didn't want to work with Simon, it's kind of new information. It's the topic changes slightly. The topic has gone from I have a challenge with a colleague to I now refuse to work with the topic. Sorry, work with Simon. So if the topic changes or new information appears, you may need to signal quickly that the coaching pauses and name the conversation you need to have. Hey, it feels like we just need to align on our expectations here around your relationship with Simon. So I'm going to pause the coaching. I just want to talk about this because I've got an opinion and it's important that we share it. It can look like that. Yeah. Naming the conversation you're in is really, really important as well. you're also signaling to the person we're talking to, I now require you to move into a slightly different mode. So in coaching, the trust has been there, it's been open, I've been listening. Now I'm ending the coaching because I need to share an opinion. And I'm also expecting that you may have opinions and they may not be the same as mine. So naming the conversation you're going into. Okay. So next context, the clean coaching conversation. So balance of power. If you've done coactive, you'll know a little bit about this. We talk about the relationship triangle and 100% leaning in. For coaching to work, the power needs to be shared. Yeah, so the coach is not above the coachee, even if in the hierarchy of the organization, they have a higher job title or a higher job grade. In coaching, we've got to get ourselves together as equals. And it's important for the manager to have awareness of how this is and to feel when something has changed and articulate it to try and restore equality. I'll give you an example of how this can show up. This happens sometimes in coaching. So as a proactive leader, I sometimes have people hire me as a coach, especially when they're going through certification. When we're in a classroom, I've been their instructor. And in a certain way, there can be a sense of power. The instructor is empowered and the student is learning, so there can be a sense of power imbalance in the room. We try in coactive classrooms to keep things flat, but at some point, as instructors, we're instructing. When it comes to then working with students one-to-one, sometimes early in a relationship, students can come and they're trying to show up as good coachees. They're trying to perhaps impress. And it means there may be an element of pleasing that can creep into the coaching. And it's really important to name that so that the coachee does not feel the need to impress. Again, when there is a hierarchy, it can show up in hierarchy that somebody is trying to give you the right answers during coaching rather than actually what they think. So as a leader, really feel into the balance of power and name it if you feel that something is off, to give chance for you to be able to meet as equals. Okay. And then the third context, coherent growth. This is really, really important. Coaching is about growth and transformation. So leaders, when you're coaching, have a really clear understanding of the growth objectives for your staff, and make sure that your coaching supports that growth. What do I mean here? Really, don't go wild. If you have, I always hold as a leader, have a clear development plan for each of your staff members and be clear about the top 3 things that you want to grow them in, so that your coaching is always pointing at those 3 things. If every coaching session as a leader, then you're pointing to a different element of growth, you risk overwhelming your staff, but also it starts to become confusing. If my boss, if one of my biggest development areas is about stakeholder relationships, if all of my coaching often points to something I can do to grow in stakeholder relationships, then I have a sense I'm going in a clear direction. My boss is clear. Our conversations have a theme to them, and I know where I'm going, and I can also grow my own capacity. So have a coherent view to what your coaching conversation, the growth that is underpinning the coaching for that person. And this is going to just help those coaching conversations. I call them clean. Clean in this sense means the balance of power is clear, the boundaries of the conversations are clear, and the overall context within personal growth is also clear. Okay. All right. So I'm going to pause here. Georgetta, if you want to take the slides down. So we have a few minutes left now for any questions and answers. You can either put those in the chat, you can put them in the Q&A, whatever. So I see something, I'm just going to read from Dalaina. So in business, I found that if possible, it's ideal to have a coaching conversation in a different setting. Even changing the Zoom background can help both parties settle into the coaching clip. I love it. I love that. You're giving a really clear signal as to the conversation that you are having. Great. And really simple ways of doing that are can be, hey, team member, this feels like a coaching conversation. Would you be okay if I put my coaching hat on? And indeed, you could move to a different part of the office if you're working. I love changing the Zoom background. Anything you can do to send clear signals as to what the conversation is. Okay, I pause again and just allow for any questions. Okay, Alana, what do you do when someone hires you to strengthen their leadership coaching, yet comes to the session all over the place? Do you help them hone in on top three focuses or always let them lead the conversation? Got you. Thanks, Alana. Good question. Um, Generally, I think you would hear from most experienced coaches. So in the cycle, sort of life cycle of a coaching relationship, we'll have a chemistry call where the client probably is meeting with a few coaches. Let's say they select me. So we're now in a coaching relationship. The first call is what in Coactive, we teach this as a discovery call. And this is where we get to know the client, but most importantly, we get to know the goals that they want. So it's often somebody could come into coaching, somebody who's a really high achiever, perhaps a little bit of perfectionism, and they've got 10, 12, 14 goals for the coaching. I would typically help them boil that down to maybe 3 to 5 goals for the coaching. Yeah. It's very, very common that people come into coaching thinking, I want to solve every problem that I have in my own world. So yeah, we would really encourage them to focus so that we're heading in a coherent direction. It speaks a little bit to the third condition that we just talked about, the coherent growth. Thanks, Alana. What other questions? Gina, does any of this transfer to working as a leadership coach, not internal to a company or organization, who coaches executives and they want a little more ROI than pure coaching? Is there anything simple in that supports being coactive whilst also meeting the needs of this particular audience? Um, Gina, I think you're asking, can we blend coaching with another modality such as mentoring? Um, if that's the question, the bottom line answer is yes, you can, but be really, really clear designing your alliance, what is expected. I love working as a coach and I want to coach. I have leadership experience and sometimes I'm working with people who we design. They say, one of the reasons I hired you is that you have years of leading teams and I want some of that to be in our work. So how that usually turns up is sometimes I have a model or a practice that I used as a leader that could be useful for them. I sometimes have opinions about a leadership, which I may insert into the coaching in order to provide something for us to work on. I'm careful with my opinions. I'll offer them once. If I offer them more than once, they risk becoming something that could divert the coaching. So yes is the answer to that. It's about being clean and clear and naming it and checking in always. Asking folks, how are we doing? I noticed that I'm mentoring a lot today. Are you getting what it is that you want? And checking in. And also, you are being hired as a coach. So part of our responsibility is also to stand in the role of coach and get curious. If there's a lot of mentoring going on, get curious. What's happening here? Okay. Great. We've got 6 minutes. Any other questions before we start winding down? I'm just giving a little longer than I would in a classroom since questions need to be written. Okay. Feels like we are probably there. So, from Ava, what made me become a coach? I can quick one with that. Because I led such big groups of people in Shell, my passion was always around. It was not so much around lubricant supply chain effectiveness, but it was about growing people so they could be good in their roles. And people started to say, hey, you should do coaching. You should take some more time with that. I did a little bit of coach training in Shell and I loved it. So that's what got me there. Okay, thanks everyone for coming along. In a moment, well, there's a few things coming in the chat. There's a few ways to stay in touch. If you've not already, you can sign up to newsletters or sign out of newsletters by scanning what's on the screen. And in a moment, we're going to put on the screen a survey. Please, just before you go off to your next meeting, please fill the survey in so that we can find out how to keep these relevant and engaging for you. So thanks so much for coming this evening, this morning. Thanks for your participation. Keep in touch. Until the next time.